Welcome to Session 5 of the JAR Region program. Today is the final activity for this program, and we're going to take a little broader look at business and not focus so much on the individual entrepreneur like we've done in the previous sessions. The materials that you are going to need today are the flashcards for vocab, the supply chain flyer, the stickers for the assembly line activity, the assembly line sheets, as well as the certificates of achievement for graduation. Today what you're going to talk about is just brainstorming with the students a little bit about what it would be like if an entrepreneur wanted to take their business a little bit broader than just their specific community. You'll notice that there are some vocabulary that they can walk through, such as what it means to be a supplier or the supply chain in general, and what it means to have interdependence. Basically, there are some talking points, again, that you can kind of walk them through this initial discussion, but then you can jump into the actual supply chain flyer. And this flyer is something that you want to hand out to all of the students, and you're going to walk through what that supply chain looks like, what it looks like in order to get the end product result. So again, I would talk about this with the students' whole class. I'd have the various students that want to read one of the sections, and then to talk about that and what that means a little bit. We're basically taking a look at how a computer is put together in today's activity. So you want to brainstorm with the students about how many parts go into a computer and what that really looks like to get the final product of a computer. And that's what they're going to demonstrate today. The bulk of the activity today is that the students are actually going to be putting together a computer. And what you're going to notice is that all of the parts of the computer come from various countries. So for example, the keyboard comes from the United States and the hard drive comes from Mexico, etc. So what you're going to do is you're going to split the students into 8 groups, and each of these 8 groups are going to become a country that specializes in one of these products. What you'll notice is that there are actually 9 countries. So you as the volunteer want to hide one of the countries so that the students don't see it and they don't know that you have it. And that's going to come into play a little bit later. So once you get the students into their small groups, they're each going to become a country. And what their goal is going to be to put together an entire computer. So for example, they need to go to the United States to get the keyboard, and then they're going to put that sticker right here to show that they have that keyboard. The students need to brainstorm in their small groups the best way of how to accomplish this task. Some of the students are going to need to go and actually get the parts from other countries, and other ones are going to need to actually represent their country to be able to give those parts to the people that want to buy them. So one thing, if there is a lot of confusion in your classroom, one thing to do is to really break it down and say that you need travelers. So they need to decide who are going to be the travelers to the other countries and who's going to be the suppliers who stay and actually give those products out. So what you're going to do is you're going to allow the students to have open time to be able to go to various countries to get their products. One thing you'll note is that if there are more than one traveler from a group, you want to make sure that they're communicating so that both of them don't go to a country and get a keyboard, so that you end up with 2 keyboards instead of just one, because then another group will be shorted it and you will obviously have to do some problem solving skills in order to get that all reversed. So you're going to allow the students some time to mill around the room and be able to work with one another to get their parts. And eventually at some point they're going to recognize the fact that they're missing a part. And so obviously that's going to be the part that you tucked away without them knowing it. So for example, I as the volunteer would have the Germany speakers. So what you want to do as the volunteer is, as people are starting to realize that they're missing this piece and as they start inquiring about it, you can all of a sudden say that there is a big media news flash, and unfortunately you can pick a disaster. So maybe we want to pick that there is a natural disaster in Germany of an earthquake or of a flood, and what you want to do is just tell them, unfortunately, because of that natural disaster, they are unable to supply the speakers that you need. The students are going to react in a lot of different ways. I have had experiences where they have been concerned about what's happened and they're actually concerned about Germany. I have other times where people are just concerned that they didn't get their speaker and they want to be able to complete their computer, and so they're angry. And what I really like to do is to bring back some of those problem-solving skills that we talked about in the last activity and really challenge the students to think about, honestly, what would happen? This has happened in real life, and what would this look like? And a lot of times they'll brainstorm some ideas of how could they help Germany, or how could they work together to get speakers maybe from somewhere else. And a lot of times I just let them spend 2 or 3 minutes kind of brainstorming that out and kind of seeing who's engaged and who's disengaged with this situation. Eventually you'll want to make sure that you tell them that there really wasn't a natural disaster, and that everything is okay, and that was just an example for this role play, but that in real life it really does happen. And of course you are going to eventually give them the sticker so that they can complete their countries. What you want to do is to make sure to wrap up this activity, and you want to have the students share a little bit about their experience. Now, depending upon your students, you might have some countries that were harder to work with than others. Maybe some countries were like, if I don't give out the stickers, then we can be the first ones done, and what's going to happen when that happens. So depending upon what happened in your classroom, have the students share a little bit about what it was like to work with one another, and maybe some of the challenges that they had and the problem solving that they had to do along the way. Basically, the overall picture is that the supply chain is really important, and it really does take all the links to make that chain come together. And oftentimes there are portions of the chain that get unlinked because of whatever might happen. And so we definitely want to talk about those interruptions and how that does affect the overall supply chain of business, and how what happens over in another country really does have a great effect on us even here in the United States. To wrap up today's activity, you're going to end with a graduation. And so with the graduation, you are going to have your certificates of achievement. Just so you know, there is a template on the JA website that allows you the opportunity to print these instead of actually handwriting them. But there is a place for you and the teacher to sign as well. So if you do hand sign them, make sure the teacher has the opportunity to sign those. I always take a little moment at the end to do a graduation, and I always talk to the students about what I enjoyed about being with them, and I always talk about how they are going to be successful in their life and how important that is to be able to properly learn how to receive an award, because they're going to be getting awards and scholarships, and someday a graduation certificate is what we're really excited about. So what we do is I role play, I pull a student up and I have them role play what a good firm handshake looks like. We don't want to be a super squeezer, we don't want to be a dead limp fish, we want the handshake to be just right. So I always talk about the V to V and the nice firm handshake. I then actually model how to receive an award. So I talk to them how they receive with their left hand, they shake with their right hand, the importance of looking eye to eye. The presenter will often say congratulations, and they can respond with thank you and a smile. It's always important to role play that, and then I actually have every student come up and actually have the opportunity to receive their award and shake my hand. Now, depending upon your classroom setup, you might have the students clap after every person that comes up, but a lot of times that might get a little noisy, and it might also be unfair if some people get more clapping than others. So there's a couple ways you can do that. You can have them clap just a couple times. You can have them do spirit fingers and just celebrate silently, and or you can hold the applause till the end. But we want to make sure that that's fair for all of the students. When you are completed with the program, it's always nice to offer your teacher the remaining materials in your kit. They or the students might like some of those extra materials. If there are any pieces that the teacher does not want to have back, you can always provide them back to the JA office here in South Dakota, as we do try to recycle as many of the materials as we can. And then finally, since you have completed all 5 activities, please use the verbiage on the following screen to email our office to let us know that you have been completed. Thanks so much for participating in the JAR Region program.